Okay, tonight, this lady that I'm about to bring out here is 92 years young. And she is one of the most avid supporters of live music. I get out every now and then and see different bands, when I'm not working. Bluegrass, country, rock and roll, blues, singer-songwriter, what have you. And every time I seem to go out, she's there. She is there in the audience supporting live music. So I got to know her. And sometimes I would go sit at her table and she would tell me some jokes. I can't repeat any of these jokes, but I'm gonna let her tell you some of these jokes herself. And I said to myself, you know what? I gotta get her here at Bethesda Blues and Jazz and share her with my audience. Especially, at this time, where there's a lot of craziness going on out there in the streets. On a sad note, we need some levity in our lives. So please welcome to the stage, my girlfriend, Ma Dillon.
Okay, good evening everybody. Now I'm supposed to try to make you laugh, and I'm going to try very hard to do that. So let's start. My first story is about Sam and Bessie. Sam and Bessie had been married for many years, and Sam had always wanted a pair of alligator cowboy boots, but they were expensive and he never bought them. So they'd been married many years, and he thought, well, he's down in the mall looking around, and he looks in his shoe store window and they had alligator cowboy boots for sale. So he thought to himself, I'm 75 years old. If I don't get them alligator cowboy boots now, I'll never get them. So he went in and bought the alligator cowboy boots. He wore them home, and he went in and he said, well, Bessie, you see anything different about me today? And she said, no, you got the same pants, the same shirt, the same hat you had on yesterday. I don't see anything different. Well, he got really disgusted. He went into the bedroom and he took off all of his clothes except the alligator cowboy boots and his hat. And he went back in and he said, well, Bessie, you see anything different about me now? She said, no, it was hanging down yesterday, it's hanging down today, and it'll be hanging down tomorrow. He said, Bessie, do you know why it's hanging down? It's looking at my brand new alligator cowboy boots. And she said, Sam, you should have bought a hat. Now, Sister Angelina is a very wonderful, sweet nun. She was coming out of our medical department one day, and she was frowning and praying her rosary beads, and she passed this doctor, and he went on around the corner and saw her doctor, and he said, can you tell me what's wrong with Sister Angelina? She's always so bubbly and happy. She was frowning and praying her rosary beads. She didn't even say good morning to me. And he said, her doctor said, oh, it's probably because I told her she was pregnant. He said, pregnant? Is Sister Angelina pregnant? He said, no, but it sure stopped her hiccups. This is about Lena and Ollie. They went to the same church, and Lena taught Sunday school. And Ollie sat behind her, and he always thought she was such a beautiful girl. And one Sunday he got up the nerve and he asked her, Lena, would you like to go out to dinner with me next Saturday night? And she said, oh yeah, Ollie, that would be nice. So they went out to dinner, and when they ordered, he said, Lena, would you like a drink with your dinner? And she said, oh no, Ollie, what would I tell my Sunday school class? And so they ate their dinner and then they ordered coffee. And he said, Lena, would you like a cigarette with your cup of coffee? And she said, oh no, Ollie, what would I tell my Sunday school class? So they drank their coffee and he took her home. And when they got in front of her house, she said, Ollie, would you like to come in for a little while? And he said, oh yeah, Lena, that would be nice. So they went in and she put on some slow music and they were dancing and then they were hugging and then they were kissing and the next thing you know they were in bed. Well, the next morning Ollie woke up and he said, oh, what have I done, what have I done? And Lena woke up and she said, Ollie, what's the matter? And he said, oh, Lena, what have I done? What are you going to tell your Sunday school class? She said the same thing I always tell them. You don't have to smoke and drink to have a good time. Now the grandmother and granddaughter went for a ride, and the granddaughter said, Grandma, is Grandpa older than you? And she said, yes, by a couple of years. Why do you ask? And she said, well, I was pretty sure that he was, because his mustache is a lot longer than yours. Now this young man moved from Dallas to Los Angeles. And he went into one of these big department stores, you know, one that sells everything. And he put in his application, and the manager's talking to him, and he says, young man, have you had any experience in sales? And he said, oh yes, I worked in a big department store in Dallas. And the manager liked his appearance, so he said, I tell you what, I'll give you a trial day. You come in tomorrow and work 8 to 5, and don't leave at 5 o'clock, because I want to come by and see how you made out. So he worked really, really hard. And the manager came by and he said, well, how'd you make out? The young man said, oh, I made out great. He said, well, how many sales did you make? And he said, 1. He said, 1? People in this department make 20 to 30 sales a day. How much was it for? He said, well, let's see, it was $50,800.57. The manager said, $50,800.57. What in the world did you sell? He said, well, first I sold a man a little fish hook. Then I sold him a medium-sized fish hook. Then I sold him a really big fish hook. Then I sold him a rod and a reel. And I asked him where he was going fishing. And when he told me, I said, well, you know, you're going to need a boat to go fishing down there. So I took him up to the boat department, and I sold him that twin-engine Chris Pratt you've had up there. And after the man bought the boat, he said, you know, son, I don't think my Honda Civic's going to pull this boat. So I took him up to the automotive department, and I sold him a 4x4 Blazer. The manager said, wait, you mean to tell me a man came in here to buy a little fish hook and you sold him a rod and a reel and a boat and a truck? He said, oh, no. He came in to buy a box of tampons for his wife. And I said, your weekend's shot. You might as well go fishing. Now, this minister graduated from seminary school. And he was assigned to one of these little country churches way out in the hills of Maryland. And it was the custom of the ladies of the church to take turns having the minister over for dinner. He was at this house one day and he was talking to their young son. And he said, boy, something sure smells good. Do you know what we're having for dinner? And the little boy said, oh, we're having buzzard. He said, buzzard? What makes you think we're having buzzard? He said, well, all I can tell you is, I heard my mom tell my dad, we might as well have the old buzzard this Sunday and get it over with. Now, this is about Bubba and his 2 friends, Doofus and Gomer, Now, they ran around together all the time. And, but one day, Bubba was home, and his house caught on fire. And he was killed in the fire. And he was burned really badly. And the mortician is looking at him, and he said, I think this is Bubba, but I'm not really sure. So I guess I'll call his friends Doofus and Gomer in. So he brought Doofus in first, and he said, Doofus, I think this is Bubba, but he's burned quite badly, and I can't really tell, and I thought maybe you could help me. And Doofus looks at him, and he said, oh my, I ain't ever seen anybody burn that bad in all my life. He said, he's burned so bad, I can't really tell. He said, can you turn him over? Mortician turned him over. He said, nope, that's not Bubba. So he brought Gomer in, went through the same routine. Gomer said, I can't really tell. Can you turn him over? And mortician turned him over. He said, nope, that's not Bubba. He said, well, why are you so sure it's not Bubba? He said, well, because Bubba had two assholes. He said, what makes you think Bubba had two assholes? And he said, well, you know, we ran around together all the time. And every time we came to town, people would say, there comes Bubba with them two assholes. Now, this is a story about Daryl and Martha. Daryl and Martha. I hope you can remember Daryl. They'd been married for many, many years, and when they first got married, they started going to this air show at this small airport in Louisa, Virginia. And Daryl always wanted to go for an airplane ride. And Martha said, Daryl, we ain't going for no airplane ride. It costs $10. And $10 is $10. So this went on for years and years, and finally Daryl said, you know, we're getting a lot older, and if we don't go for an airplane ride this year, we might never get one. And Martha said, now Daryl, don't you start. I told you we ain't going for no airplane ride. It costs $10, and $10 is $10. Well, the pilot overheard him. And he came over and he said, I'll make you folks a deal. I'll take you up in the airplane. If nobody makes a sound, no charge. If one peep out of either one of you, and it'll be $10. And Martha said, well, I can keep my mouth shut, and Daryl, you better. So they got in the airplane and took off, and the first thing the pilot did was a couple of rollovers. He didn't hear sound. Then he did a couple of big loops, still not a peep. Then he flew up and did a nosedive. Still didn't hear a word out of either one of them. And he landed and he was taxiing over to the hangar. And he said, you know, you folks really surprised me. I did everything I could to frighten you so somebody would say something. And Daryl said, well, I was going to say something back there on that first rollover when Martha fell out. But $10 is $10. I can't sing worth a darn, but I'm going to sing this little short song, and then Daryl's going to come out and rescue me. And it's in honor of a friend of mine, Walter Jones, who used to sing in the parties, and we got a kick out of it. It's called The Burglar Man. Once there was a burglar man. He went to rob a house. He crept in through the windows as quietly as a mouse, thinking of the things that he would get as under the bed he lay. That burglar man had a fright that night that made his hair turn gray. About 9 o'clock, an old maid came in. I'm so tired, she said, thinking everything was all right. She forgot to look under the bed. Well, she took better teeth and a big glass eye, and the hair came off her head. That burglar man had 19 fits as he crawled from under the bed. The old maid took a pistol from the drawer to the burglar man and said, "Young man, you're gonna marry me or I'll blow off the top of your head." Well, he looked at her teeth and her big glass eye, and he had no place to scoot. So he said to the old maid, "Lady, for the Lord's sake, shoot." Well, that burglar man is dead, I'm sure. I don't know where he's gone. Up above or down below. I'm now through singing this song. Thank you. I forgot. I know a story about Daryl that he doesn't know that I know. Daryl read this book on how to be the man of the house, and he called his wife in and he said, "From now on, I'm going to be the man of the house. And tonight you're going to fix me a gourmet dinner, and when I'm finished, you're going to clean everything up. Then you're going to serve me a scrumptious dessert. When I'm finished with that, you're going to clean that up. But best of all, you're going to run my bath water so that I can relax. You're going to scrub my back, massage my nose, shoulders, and neck, wash my hair. And guess who's going to comb my hair and shave me in the morning?" And his wife said very sweetly, "Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the undertaker, unless you want to be cremated."
Give it up one time for Bob Dillon, folks.